Gmar Chatima Tova.
Gmar Chatima Tova.
Nice. So this summer, Sharon and I had the chance to spend some time in the Netherlands. A friend's son was celebrating his bar mitzvah at their synagogue in The Hague, and we wanted to be there to support the family and the community. Now, this just wasn't a regular synagogue in Europe. You walked into a 300-year-old building. It was a liberal, egalitarian congregation housed in this building. And miraculously, the building wasn't destroyed by many events, wasn't destroyed by the Shoah, the Holocaust. And it was amazing just to walk into this space, 3 centuries of history that stood through the darkest periods for European Jewry. Now, they're not the biggest congregation, and so I wanted to help them out, so I figured, whatever you guys need. So I contacted the rabbi and some of the lay leaders and said, I'm coming, I'm a rabbi, whatever, you need a Dvar Torah, a little teaching, you want a class, so anything you need. They got back to me. Can you read the whole Parsha? The whole Parsha? Now, let me just stop by saying reading Torah is holy work. I am incredibly grateful to Mark Sachs, who is assigning Torah readers, and to all the people here who learn Torah. But it wasn't like on the first thing I wanted to do on my vacation. Yet there I was, chanting every last word of the Parsha. Now, after that Shabbat and the next one, when we had the Bar Mitzvah, Sharon and I got to explore the Netherlands in by far the most Dutch way possible. We went on bicycles. There are bike lanes and bike paths, and there are even bike highways between cities with on and off ramps. So fun, I just would keep getting on and off them. Eventually Sharon caught up to me, but that was fine. And it was pretty much flat. And we stumbled into all kinds of special moments throughout the trip. Stopping on the beach where there's a food truck selling the freshest herring that you could ever imagine. You think of herring, you're thinking bad, you're thinking jar. Think sushi. Think it came out of the ocean that morning. It was amazing. In Leiden, we found ourselves in a law school party next to a canal. And what's the music that's blaring through the loudspeakers? It's klezmer music. A full klezmer band dancing and clarinets and the accordion. Amazing party. There was just one thing that wasn't there. There were no Jews. Not a Jew in sight. In Gouda, which of course you're thinking cheese, and then I learned that it's pronounced Gouda, or my friends, my Dutch friends here. Gouda? Rudy, help me out here. Is it Gouda? Gouda. I'm in the ballpark. In that city, we were walking along the canals when Sharon suddenly exclaimed with delight on the side, "A mezuzah!" We couldn't tell if it was old or if Jews were still living in the house, but it was kind of thrilling to spot it. A little Jewish spark. And then a few streets later, Sharon found the synagogue, a beautiful building. But today, an evangelical church, a reminder of another Jewish community gone. In Harlem, we stood before a large memorial. 450 names, every single Jew in Harlem. Every name was written, their birth dates, the day they were deported, the date they were murdered, the camp that they were murdered in, Auschwitz, Sobibor. You've never seen a monument like this. Meticulous, moving, overwhelming even. Europe does memory very well. And yet, while we were there, Dutch friends told me, don't wear your kippah in public. It's not safe. I like to wear my kippah wherever I am. I like to be Jewish and out as Jewish. It's not safe. It stung a little bit. I saw plenty of Muslims wearing hijabs openly. But I, as a Jew, was told not to be visibly Jewish. And then I thought, right, people love dead Jews, memorials, stepping stones with the names of murdered Jews in the sidewalks in front of the homes where they used to live, museums, memorials, all beautifully done. People love dead Jews, but living Jews, that's harder. In her powerful book, People Love Dead Jews, Dara Horn claims bluntly that the world reveres Jews when we are victims, when we are gone, when we can serve as some kind of symbols. But it resists, ignores, maybe even despises us when we're alive and messy and vibrant and maybe inconvenient. Her point is provocative and maybe simple. People love Jews as symbols of tragedy. But living Jews, Jews who are here right now, Jews with needs, Jews with complexities and claims, that's a harder sell. There's a psalm we say almost every single day. It's one of my favorite psalms, Mizmor LeTodah, Psalm 100, a psalm of thanksgiving. I love it for lots of reasons. One is because it's short, so you can memorize it and can know it cold, which really helps when I have to walk through the Wold Chapel, because you're not supposed to walk through a sacred space, but sometimes I need to cut through, but you can cut through if you can say a psalm or a prayer on your way. You gotta love Judaism. We're always having fun. So I always say this psalm as I cut through the chapel, or something else. It's a beautiful psalm. The second line simply, Ivdu et Adonai b'simcha, bo lefanav birnana. Serve God with joy. This is supposed to be the core of Jewish life. This is the core, I think, of religious life. Gratitude, a psalm of thanksgiving. Joy and gladness. But here's the weird thing. We don't, according to tradition, recite this psalm on the day before Yom Kippur. Why not? Lots of historical reasons. I'll offer that perhaps as we approach Yom Kippur, we're a little bit too burdened, too weighed down, too anxious about judgment. And our tradition recognizes that maybe we're not yet in the place of gratitude to recite that psalm. Maybe we're stuck in a little bit of fear. That's the lachrymose view of Jewish history, a phrase coined by the great historian at Columbia, Salo Baron, in the early 20th century. The history of the Jewish people focusing on our tears, on our losses, on our punishments, on our grief. But then Yom Kippur flips that on its head. The Mishnah tells us that this was one of the most joyful days of the year. Why? Because it was the day that we were forgiven. A day of forgiveness, a day of renewal, a day when young people would go out into the fields and find their partners. Yom Kippur is not just about guilt. It's a wedding day when we, the Jewish people, commit ourselves to God once again. And what could be more joyful than a wedding? When the shofar sounds at the end of Ne'ilah, we sing, we get up and dance. That's our Mizmor LeTodah. That's our song of gratitude. Even if we're not reciting it in our prayers, we are living it in our bodies and deep in our souls. Friends, to be a Jew is not to be defined by fear or tragedy. To be a Jew is to ivdu et Adonai b'simcha. It's to serve God with a sense of joy. That's why the most moving part of our trip wasn't the memorials, as powerful as they were. It wasn't even the herring, as tasty as it was. It was those 2 Shabbatot in The Hague. Kids running around the shul, families gathering, a community coming back to life, the joy of a bar mitzvah, the freilichness, the happiness, the singing, the new life. Friends, that's our sacred work too. Not to stand like monuments, not to be some kind of exhibition, but to be a living synagogue, a shul. To be a place where Judaism is not just remembered and recalled, but lived and lived joyfully. Serve God with joy. Ivdu et Adonai b'simcha. Bo lefanav birnana. In America, Judaism has really become a personal choice. There's a lot of things you could do. A lot of things you could be doing last night. Those of you who did that thing, you shouldn't have done it. There's all kinds of things we can stream and watch and things we can occupy ourselves with. And our kids also have so many options. They can do soccer and ballet and music and Russian math. What is Russian math? Isn't math always the same? But anyway, all of these things are wonderful. But what I pray that they become engaged Jews. And for that, you have to be part of it. You have to live it at home, in shul, in community. Let's dance on Friday nights here together. Let's sing our wordless nigunim that lift our souls and our spirits. Let's celebrate with the band on Simchat Torah. Let's schmooze with our friends at Cafe Amuna every Sunday. And come even JFK, just for Kiddush. Welcome everyone with the words of our great sage Shammai, who wasn't always known for being so welcoming. But he said, Havei mekabel et kol adam b'sever panim yafot. Welcome and greet every person with a cheerful smile. Because as Dara Horn reminds us, people may love dead Jews, but God and the Torah and our tradition call us to love living Jews and to love living joyful Judaism. Ivdu et Adonai b'simcha. May this be a year of joyful Judaism, serving God with gladness, celebrating not only our past, but our living covenant together. Let us say, Amen.